And just like, yeah, here we are. So yeah, welcome everyone to this new episode of the Sales Lab Virtual Tour, which will in turn become a new episode of the B2B Sales Podcast. So today's guest is Roger Figueiredo. My God, I think I said it properly, right?
You got
Yeah.
it.
Okay. And we're going to talk about how to involve your sales development team when you're hiring new SDRs. So it's going to be a live interview. If you have questions, you can actually drop them in the chat and we'll answer them as we go. But before we start, Roger, maybe can you tell us a bit more about yourself, who you are, what you're doing?
Yeah, my name is Roger, and you did a good job with my last name, by the way. It's not an easy one, so yeah, good job. I lead marketing and sales development here at #Paid, and we're an influencer marketing platform. So we sell to other businesses. We sell to consumer brands. So there's big ones like Nestle and Unilever and Starbucks, and they're startups like direct-to-consumer brands and e-commerce brands that are just launching, like Big Blanket, like Native Deodorant, etc. So those are the type of people that we sell to. So as you listen to me and as you hear some of our process, you use that as a filter, so you understand the type of companies that we're going after, and then apply it to maybe your circumstance or to your situation. So yeah, marketing and sales development here at #Paid.
Okay, great. And so can you tell us a bit more about before #Paid, like where you're coming from, what's your kind of background?
Yeah, I believe it or not, I used to be a musician, toured a bunch, and what I learned was that my favorite part was actually the marketing of the band and the actual management. And so I slowly just gravitated towards marketing. I love graphic design. I love video. I love photography. I was a wedding videographer, a wedding photographer. And then I got into, someone believed in me and said, hey, you should be on my marketing team. It was a tech company here in Toronto. They believed in me. They brought me on. They taught me a bunch of stuff. And here I am today. So just bounced around a couple startups in Toronto and here I am.
Nice. And what kind of instrument were you playing?
I was a guitar and lead singer.
Okay. Oh, nice. Were you playing like rock or what was the kind of style?
Yeah, I was like pop rock.
Okay.
Nothing out of this world.
Good. I mean, I'm also into music. I used to play guitar, never played like toured or anything. Playing clubs like DJ and everything. But
Okay.
yeah, I think it's pretty cool, but it's very hard to make a living out of it. So it's yeah, it's pretty challenging. Even if you're super talented, it's a very unfair and tough world. I get the impression.
It's a tough world for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
so, yeah, so now we're going to talk about, so for background at #Paid, you are, when we prepared this interview, you were experiencing a crazy growth. It seems like now it's getting crazier and crazier. You got two awards that kind of like got public yesterday or a few days ago. Can you maybe tell us a bit more about that and what's happening for #Paid?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been growing really, really, really fast, especially since the launch of our platform, our self-serve influencer marketing tool, and so yeah, we are on Deloitte's Fast 50 here in our country, in Canada, and we're on Deloitte's Fast 500 for the US and Canada for North America. So we're pretty happy. We're experiencing a lot of growth. We're ahead of some great companies. So very proud of our team. And I think there's a couple more awards coming that I don't know if we can talk about yet, but it seems like we're just slowly on a roll here, doing some great things. The team's working really hard. When I think of how we got here, I think back to some of the internal meetings that we have, and the people we have genuinely care about our customers, whether they're an SDR, a customer service rep, a developer. They're always thinking about, well, how's the customer going to respond to this? What's the best thing for the customer here? When we're thinking of our sales process, what's best for the customer here? And so it's no surprise that this team's been able to get on these lists here. Really proud of them.
Okay. And so what do you think are the, so there's this customer focus, that is one big thing. You also talked about the self-serve platform, which is a good, also a good thing. What do you think are the, say, um underlying reasons for this huge growth?
Well, there's a couple. And I try to be sober about our growth as well. We're in a category that's doing quite well. Influencer marketing is very popular. I think the forecast has changed for the next couple of years. The last time I checked, it was like 22 billion by 2015 or 2014 or whatever it is, or 2025 or 2024 or something. I forget. It's a growing category, and so in a sense, all boats lift. But we're doing some incredible things in influencer marketing. So the way we approach it is very different than the hundreds of competitors that are out there. We don't allow, for example, people to search for influencers. We actually just intake what you want to do right through a brief, and then we algorithmically pair you with the right people who are already fans of your brand. So it cuts down on hours and hours of searching for influencers, which is the hardest part of building an influencer marketing program. So yes, influencer marketing is doing really well. That's one reason. Two, we're very different than the competition. We help people do things differently so that they don't have to hire more headcount to manage their influencer marketing programs. So that's another reason. And then I think it's just the execution from our team has been top notch.
Okay, I see. Are you also doing like covering like LinkedIn for influencer marketing? Because I know it's typically on Instagram or Twitter, but LinkedIn is starting. I'm starting to kind of personally. I'm working. I have the podcast and everything. I'm starting to discuss with like companies that are interested in sponsoring. So I'm starting to have all the problem around that. So are you LinkedIn too?
Yeah, we might get there. Some of the people, we're an influencer marketing company, but I think we partner with influential people in our space, right? So not influencers, maybe the way we would traditionally think of them. They're thought leaders in our space. We partner with them, but we partner with them on the channels that our customers are on. So for us, Twitter is big. So we tend to do most of our stuff with our thought leaders and with our partners on Twitter, more so than on LinkedIn, because our customers are not as active there.
Okay, I see. Okay, got it. And
But
so,
LinkedIn is big for influencer marketing, 100%. I mean, if you look at Dave Gerhardt, if I'm not mistaken, Gong sent him a pair of Air Jordans or something not too long ago because he was praising Gong. It was a very natural thing. It wasn't a paid thing, but you can start seeing the influencer relationships there on LinkedIn happening for sure.
it's weird. I also praised Gong and I didn't receive anything. Weird. Like, he has a huge audience, and yeah, it's definitely great. Yeah. And so as a consequence of this huge growth, you're hiring many SDRs. So how many have you hired so far, and how many are you hiring more?
Yeah, we've hired, I think, 3 or 4 here in the last month or two, and we kind of have the process open. We have our model for next year and what we need to do. We have our.
You just unmute. Yeah, you muted yourself. No, it's good.
We like to think we have our plan for next year. I was saying, sorry. But we like to think that if the right SDR reaches out to us, we leave the job opening up, because if they do a good job prospecting us and they get our attention, then we want to bring them onto the team and just, grow a little bit faster.
Okay, I see. And so what kind of traits are you looking for in these SDRs?
Yeah, good question. One of the things that we look for is I'll try to think of different stuff that people don't normally answer, but when we're going through when I'm going through my scorecard, I have something called adventurousness, for example. And what I'm doing there is I'm rating when they prospect, how adventurous were they, right? Is this something new? Does this seem like something that requires a bit of adventure, a sense of adventure for this person? And the reason we do that is because the vision for the SDR team is for them not just to be SDRs. We want our SDR team to be content developers and content machines and influencers, in a sense, in their own right? We want our SDRs to be much more than just sort of outbound cold calling machines. These are content machines. And so if you have this sense of adventure in you, then we can lean on you to produce this content, right? That's why they're on the marketing team. They're advancing our brand. And so I love when I meet with an SDR, the people we've hired, they have this sense of adventure. We had one candidate who we just hired. His name is Mustafa. He took our product. He actually took a screenshot of it. He went into our product, right? So he signed up, he went into our product, and he changed the image of the influencer to himself. And he says, this Mustafa is a top candidate for this SDR role. And he just changed all the words, but it was our platform. So when you read it, it looked like we were reading the profile of an influencer, but it was him. And he sent us, and then he did another one where he made a record of our podcast. And he had this, his content was really good. It was sharp. He had some great ideas. He pushed back during the interview, he had some great thoughts. And so I loved his sense of adventure and his creativity there. So that's one. I can go through the whole list if you want, but that's one of the more exciting ones, I think.
Okay, I mean, I think it's a very good thing to. It's not very common, also, because often you get curiosity or resilience, persistence. But I think this is great, like the idea of doing that, because for me, I think, and you said something very important, is that's why they report to marketing, and I think SDRs should report to marketing because of that. It's like these. For me, there's so many tools that are coming that are really making our job so easy that a robot can do it better than us if it's a job of repetition and everything. That if you're not creative as an SDR, you won't have a job in 5 years, I think. And so your job is to actually make sure you become a content machine, as you said, that you produce some inbound leads. And it's not like, hey, we are hashtag paid, the 360 leading platform, whatever. It's more, hey, I'm this dude working for hashtag paid, and this is who I am. But like then it's a personal brand that is attached to hashtag paid. And I think that's what is super important to develop, is like people owning their brand and then like distributing it to the world. And then it's going to be interesting, because what I find is a lot of people, we make business with people who are often similar like us. That's why also diversity in the SDR team is very important, because they're going to attract people who are similar, who have the same values. And if you have people who are very different, then you're going to get like a vast like diversity of customers. So I think it's a very good trait to look for in SDR.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, some great thoughts there. I agree.
Yeah, and so what are, let's say, maybe two more traits you're looking for?
Initiative, and again, this one is another one is initiative. And what we're looking for there is, does this person initiate, right? I have, when we post the job, like a post, or when Michael Galliano, who's our head of sales, a phenomenal sales leader, when he posts, we get a lot of inbound, and they're like, oh, I'd love to, apply for this position. And then, I do my best to respond back and say, hey, here's the process, right? Try prospecting our SDRs, try prospecting me. And then, if they give us a thumbs up, we'll book a meeting. And we pretty much spell it out for them. And a handful of people take initiative and actually prospect us. And so we're looking for initiative, because if you can do that, then the chances are much higher now of, when you come on board, that you're going to have the initiative to go reach our customers and our prospects, right? If you have the initiative, it's not something I need to coach you on once you get on board. This is something I don't have to worry about. So between adventurousness and initiative, you're already developing, you're already sort of filtering for an incredible SDR.
Okay.
So I have initiative there. Curiosity, growth, ambition is another one. There's a couple words there, but what we're looking for there is someone who has a pattern of learning. So one of the questions Phil likes to ask, he's got great questions in interviews, but one of the questions he asks is, what have you learned, or what's the hardest thing you've learned in the last 6 months, or what have you learned recently? And we ask it in different ways, but that's one sort of structure that it takes. And we're looking for, what have you learned? Have you taught yourself anything during COVID? Like, we just hired one SDR, Sarah, and she watched YouTube and learned tennis on her own, right? That is an example of someone who, it's also probably hints at initiative, but it's resourcefulness. There's growth, there's learning, there's a desire and a hunger to learn. They're just picking up skills. And between adventurousness and initiative, if you have someone who's going to continuously learn and grow and who's curious, man, those are things, again, that are really hard to coach through, right? I can coach through messaging and content development, but initiative, adventurousness, and curiosity and growth and learning, those are hard to coach for. If you can find someone with those three, you've got a beautiful SDR on your hands.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's so important. What do you think is I mean, because I think for me, what I've noticed is yesterday I interviewed a guy named Kyle Roach, who's the director of sales development at Socio. and he was a teacher, and now he's like heading the sales development team. And he talked about the change in education, that before you had like a classroom, a teacher was the source of knowledge, and now knowledge is infinite. We all have access to it, so teacher is a facilitator. And so I find that personally, I really love learning by myself. I hate going to anything that is just like, I just love learning by myself. But I find that a lot, we get this impression that the new generation, the Generation Z or everything, it doesn't have any initiative at all. Do you think that's the case in your recruitment from people you see? Do you think it's hard to find initiative, or is something easy to find?
I don't think it's any harder than the old generation. If you speak to, I think, my parents' generation or before, I think it's just a different type of initiative. They take initiative for maybe things they're more passionate about because they grew up different, right? My parents, they took initiative leaving one country and coming to this one. My dad came with one pair of shoes, one pair of underwear, a pair of jeans, and a sweater, and no money. He didn't even have a hotel or a place to stay when he came, and he got smuggled into the States and smuggled back into Canada. So it was a different type of initiative then. But then, I think in that generation, if you ask them to go learn something, for example, on YouTube, they're like, no, I'm not going to do it. And so I think this generation has a lot of initiative. I think they just have initiative for different things and different passions. And I think it takes a really good coach and a really good mentor to sort of extract those, find what those are, and sort of point them in the right direction and then enable them. But I wouldn't say there's any lack in initiative from our generation or from the new generation, millennials, Gen Z, whatever it is. I wouldn't say there's any less initiative. No. In fact, I might argue that there's maybe more, but maybe another.
What makes you think that?
They're passionate. Young people are really passionate. Look at how many e-com brands or D2C brands are starting. Look the number of entrepreneurs that exist today. And I know things are much easier today because we have tech and tools and the resources. Look at the creator economy. How many creators exist, influencers, right? Like, these are people who are going out and they're taking initiative on creating content. They're maybe pursuing careers that their parents don't understand. They're pursuing careers that are maybe uncertain. They're not, a 9-to-5 job with a pension. And so you have to hand it to this new generation. They're doing things that are really different. They're going into the unknown in a sense. So maybe not more. I probably settle on, I think it's a different type of initiative. I wouldn't knock this current generation at all.
Yeah, I think, as you said, the revolution is that we have so many tools. I think we are one of the first generations to have so many tools and be able to kind of like create our revenue by ourselves without the need for anyone else. And also, one thing is a harsh reality is that all the pensions and everything that were granted for our parents, I don't think we will see it. So we have to find ways to create our own wealth and do it now when we're young and have energy, because the state will not take care of that. There's a really great book called The Sovereign Individual, which is like the Bible of crypto, basically, where it's. I really love crypto, but basically what we see is that people are really like they don't really believe in states anymore, because I think the way states and governments are done is not really adapted to the way the world works now. Where basically before it was like a state, and the state emerged to protect from so the first kind of state were like the kings, in a kingdom that will protect you. So you will farm for them, give them some of that, and they will protect your wealth. And then the state took over, and now like the state was like a nation, and the concept of nation is changing, shifting, and there's huge problems that are coming around that. And so I think like the fact of having a state, you say I'm based in Canada, I'm based in Germany, and I pay and I stay there forever, and then the government pays me back for my kind of like service and monthly investment, basically. I don't think that's going to hold in 20, 30, 40 years. So we have to have this initiative, and I think the fact that we have these tools really help. So I think it's interesting. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. There's a big movement, especially on LinkedIn, about people starting their own businesses and making their own wealth, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, there's as you said, Dave Garrett is great for that. Justin Welch is also really amazing for that. So yeah, a lot of great content people create that.
Absolutely.
So can you tell me a bit more about your unconventional approach to hiring? So because we talked about that before, but you're not like going through the typical interview process. It's a bit different. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So what we have been doing, or we had been doing, was we had a recruiter who would go out and either sort of try and get people who are on the market, or they'd field inbound requests or inbound. And what I found was I was spending a lot of time on 15-minute phone calls, and then on 45-minute interviews, and then on presentations that ultimately wouldn't lead to a close. And it was very, very time consuming. And so when we're thinking about, and we brought on, and through all of that, we did find some incredible people. And we looked at the traits, and I thought, why is Delia so successful? Like, what makes her so incredible, or what makes this person or that person? And I started picking out things that made them successful. And I said, well, how could I measure this outside of an interview? Because it's very difficult to assess those things, initiative and curiosity and adventurousness, in an interview in 15 minutes or 30 minutes and in an hour presentation. Like, it's gonna, how can I do this by proxy? And so what I thought of was, okay, well, how do I test for initiative? Well, I need to make, maybe the hiring process can involve a step that involves you taking initiative without direction. And so that's sort of, it was born out of a necessity, because I am a little bit strapped for time, and the quality of candidates coming through wasn't super high. And so it was born out of necessity. And so I thought, okay, all of my criteria, what's a different way to figure this out that isn't in the form of a question? And so that's how the process was born. And at a high level, for whoever's listening and thinking of joining #paid, it's, you just have to prospect our SDRs as if they were an outbound customer. You prospect me, prospect whoever else you want at the company if you think it's going to help, but you prospect them. Our SDRs, of course, this is an HR issue, so of course we don't share information liberally. As a team, we deliberate and say, was this, hey, this person did something pretty creative. What was your outreach like? Or what was your outreach like? And then we say, okay, this is worth a 30-minute meeting. And so we book it on the calendar. And then the SDRs come in. We have great SDRs, so I trust them to be in our interview process. They're really respectful. They ask great questions. They can push. And then as a team, we say, what do we do? Do we move this forward? Do we not move it forward as a team? And I trust their judgment, because they're in it every day. They know what it takes. So I trust them, and they move on to a presentation. And so there we have our senior SDR, who's part of the final step, helping us make that decision. And she's doing an incredible job.
Okay. And so what kind of results do you have with that?
So when did I started posting about this? Maybe September, I think. I think September. Yeah. So we've had our conversion rate. So we have 3 hires. We may have moved maybe 5 people to a presentation. So the close rate is pretty high. We've had very few interviews as a team. So it might be everybody who had an interview for the most part went to the presentation. And it hasn't taken up a lot of time. So I would say the results are quite high. There's not a lot of inbound, in the sense there's not a lot of people who get that meeting, but that's okay, because it also doesn't suck up our time, right? We only give the interview to the person or to the people who really go out of their way. So the results have been really good, both in volume. We're 1 hire ahead of our schedule, because Mustafa was just great. He's our most recent hire. He was just phenomenal. So we were like, we have to bring him on. So we did. So we're 1 hire ahead of schedule. We're on track, and the SDRs are really high quality. Gabriel just started on Tuesday. First day, he's pushing back and saying, I think maybe there's area for improvement here. That's the kind of people we want. We want them on day 1 to start adding value to our team, to start making us better.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I mean, I think that's then it's like you get what you pay for. We could say it's like, if they take all this initiative, they will actually keep taking it when they're on the job, and that's what you want. And I think it's amazing, because I was yesterday talking with an SDR who's in a company where they have no freedom at all. It's just like they're not coached, and whenever they do a call, it's like, hey, do more calls, do more emails, reach your targets. That's it. And so she has no career path, like visibility. She doesn't know where she can go, and she's just like, they are not open for freedom around that. And so I think it's really annoying. But whenever you're like starting at #paid, from what I understand, you can really have an impact. You also told me one of your SDRs is taking care of the podcast.
Yeah,
Like,
AJ.
yeah,
Yeah,
what is it?
AJ's totally. Yeah, we have a podcast called the D2C Growth Show, and I launched it, I kicked it off. We have some incredible, wonderful guests, very smart people, and AJ is very good on camera. AJ is an incredible SDR. He's great on camera. He's an incredible speaker, charismatic. Um, we're chatting and I said, well, why don't you try hosting one? And he did. And it was great. It was great feedback. And so he's going to start doing them. And he's doing all these reviews on products now. You can catch some, they're going to be coming out very soon, but he's actually doing product reviews for us. We have this thing where we purchase an e-com product. So I think the latest one he did was a Theragun, the massage gun. So he has a video, it's coming out. He scores it. He scores the whole process, right? So from shipping to unboxing to actually using the product to the onboarding, the email onboarding, etc. He's going to do a whole product review video, and he's an SDR, but he's like almost like the face of our company soon. And Danny, who just started not too long ago, he's going to be launching a podcast as well for our enterprise customers. If you have a great idea, bring it up. We want to make sure that we're having fun, that these people are creating content for #paid. They're building their own brands and they're building our brand at the same time. So
Yeah, I think it's amazing because it's such an interesting process if you take ownership on that. And for them, it's great because it's not like, hey, if you reach target, you're gonna get like a voucher or something. It's more, it's like create your personal brand, create your future, and also benefit #paid. I was talking also with a prospect like on Tuesday, and she was telling me, oh yeah, we have a podcast and it's a good podcast. And every time we get guests, we send them, and the podcast is hosted by the CMO. And I think it's great, but podcasts, I mean, if you actually are trying to sell, I think podcasts are great if they are hosted by you or by the SDR team and not by like an executive or whatever, because the SDR teams, they need to actually know what kind of problems their customers are having. And one of the best ways to do that is to interview prospects, and then you can have this conversation and then, kind of start an opportunity. It's one of the best ways to do that. For me, I can tell you, I did like a sequence with the Revenue Collective where I scrapped like everyone in Revenue Collective, sent some connection requests to invite people on the podcast. And I'm now like it's booked until the end of December. And I had great conversations, some opportunities, introductions. And that's very easy because you're giving first. You're not like taking away from them.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And you said something there that is so interesting. And that is by getting the SDR to do this interview. So by getting him to do this interview or this podcast, he's learning about our customers. Don't you think that's going to make him a better SDR when he's prospecting someone? Now, all of a sudden, when he's prospecting, he'd say, hey, listen to this conversation I had with the founder of this brand. All of a sudden now you build your SDRs. The SDRs, I don't know, traditionally you were sharing about SDR who has no flexibility. It's just make more dials, make more emails. And I think sometimes SDRs are looked at as like, well, this is where you start off your career. It's seen as sort of the lowest on the totem pole. And that's, for me, I challenge that thinking because they're the first touch point that your prospects are going to have with your brand. So these need to be some of your smartest and best people. Mm-hmm. By having your SDRs do podcasts or do interviews or create content, by the time they're doing their outbound prospecting, they look like authorities. They look like influential people in your space. And for me, it's crazy. It's very wild that people don't do this. Like, I love it when my SDRs get on a call and they sound really, really smart. My SDRs, not my SDRs, our SDRs, I can't take credit because they do they do all the hard work. They are better marketers than some of the marketers I know. Yeah. We go through marketing books together as a team, and they know more about marketing than some of the marketers I know. So that makes your SDR team very good when they're going and selling to marketers.
Yeah, and I think it's great because often, there's something where on LinkedIn you see a lot of sales advice, and it's very easy to build a brand around sales. I mean, it's very easy, because then it's super crowded. But whenever you're in sales and selling something in sales, like if you're selling for Gong, it's great. You talk about your job, you're going to attract your ICP, and it's great. But one problem I see, and I think that's why a lot of people don't really start this kind of content or building podcasts, is they think they are in sales and they are selling cybersecurity or IT or whatever. That's not going to attract their ICP. And so they don't really know what to do. And so for me, I always say, first interview your prospects, interview your ICP. You will learn a ton of things. Then you can reuse that as a piece of content that will attract other people who are similar. And then second, the like focus on problems, problem-centric content. You don't need the authority or whatever. You will become one because you're talking about problems and solutions. And that's the thing. You're not saying, hey, here's how you do this or whatever, because you don't have experience like 10 years of experience like prospecting, but you just like share your learning, your journey, learning that. And it's just a great way to generate opportunities and build a brand as a byproduct.
I totally agree. I totally agree. It's very, very short-sighted when companies don't do this, I think. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's an investment, but I think more and more companies realize that. But for the ones, you know, like you that are doing it, then you see huge growth, and that's also, as you said, there's like it's a movement, it's a wave, but it's also executing on that, because execution is not that easy. I can tell you. For me, I'm also on a wave, and I'm not like a millionaire yet or whatever. So it takes also good execution. So it's not just a movement there. Yeah.
Absolutely, it takes very good execution. And the more people do it, the more your execution has to be good.
Yeah, exactly. So now is the time, because don't you know, so many people do it, and it's really nice. And so what's the effect of all of this whenever you're hiring and you're hiring new reps involving your team? What are the effects? Because someone could say, oh, they are away from what they should be doing, booking calls or generating opportunities. But what's the effect on them on that?
I mean, let me pull it up. I'll tell you right now. Our SDR, who's most involved in the process, hit 100% of target 2 days ago for this month, and we're only on so she hit target on the 17th.
Wow.
Our other SDRs involved in the product is going to hit target today or tomorrow. So, and the month's not over. So they're performing. I mean, someone always taught me, I had a mentor and I didn't know what he was doing for a long time. And he's like, man, you treat people the way you see them in the future. And let me say that in other words. I don't treat my, that's condescending. Let me say it another way. I say it in a way that's not condescending. But you see the potential of people, and you tell them and you show them, this is what I think of you. This is the potential I see in you and what I expect from you. And all of us, and people, and if it's genuine, if it's authentic, people get there. And that's what we're seeing with our SDR team. Yes, you're pulling them away from their job for a little bit to get into these interviews, but it's also a learning process for them. And it's also encouraging for them. And it's also telling them like, wow, I'm seeing a lot of crappy outreach, a lot of lack of initiative. Man, I'm actually pretty good at my job. I'm more than just an SDR. I'm one of the best SDRs, right? It gives them confidence. It gives them encouragement. And so, and it starts with a team and a culture, a company culture that believes in them and sees the potential in them. That's where it starts. Because if you believe in their potential, then you're going to give them opportunity according to the potential you see in them. You're going to look beyond, you know, the traditional title of sales development rep or SDR, BDR, whatever you call it. You're going to look beyond that. You're going to say, this is your potential. This is what I'm going to expect from you. Your potential, not the other stuff.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I don't know. I hope nothing there was condescending in any way or negative. What I'm trying to say is our SDRs have potential, and I just expect that potential from them, and I give them opportunity according to that potential. That's all.
Yeah, I think it's great. And also from an interview I did recently is that the guest was saying like it's becoming a career in itself also. And for some companies, you just like, because historically it was like you cut your teeth for 18 months, like doing cold calling, and then if you're lucky, you jump to AE and you forget about this dark 18 months of your life, you know. And so and so that's now it's different, because if you do that, you're creating that, you're being creative, and you're like creating strategies, experimenting, then it's a super interesting job. It's not always the same, you know. There's kind of like outreach, which is your main thing, but you can build a lot of things around that, and then you develop so many skills. You like learn how to do a landing page, how to do design, how to use tools that are actually super simple to use, but takes a bit of learning. And then, you know, you're really developing I would say entrepreneurial skills. And that's the thing, is if you're able to generate opportunities, start conversations, and, you know, like build net new relationships, I would say you have all the skills you need to be an entrepreneur. and the most important one. So I think it's a very nice entrepreneurial preparation, and yeah, I think it's a good career path actually in itself right now.
Yeah, totally. And we you know, I ask our SDRs, where do they want to be in the future, right? What is it? And I can't take credit for this. Like Michael Galliano on our team is an absolute beast of a salesperson, but also beast of a coach and leader. Um, and part of our SDR process, once we identify that you want to be in the account executive role, is you start Michael gives his own time, like, and it's not a little bit of time. It's he coaches, he mentors for real. Any SDR who wants to go into the account executive role, you are getting thousands of dollars worth of mentorship and coaching from Michael, thousands of dollars worth for free by being an SDR. We look at where you want to be, and then we try to pair you or try to help you get there. The goal is not for you to be an SDR for 5 years. The goal is to get you through this, get you creative, get you doing things that you want to be doing in the future, and then sort of, you know, and help you get there. And great credit to Michael for helping the SDRs who want to be AEs who are on our team, for helping them get there. We really invest in our people. Michael has been phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he created the SDR Nation, so he's definitely focused on helping this category of people. So it's pretty cool.
I'm gonna drop that in here real quick. Our SDRs rave about SDR Nation.
Yeah.
SDR Nation makes my job a lot easier. Yes, the coaching they get there, the not just from mentors, but also from like peer coaching and peer mentorship is phenomenal. If you're an SDR listening to this, highly recommend you apply to join the program.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really something really interesting. I think it's a great idea, and there's some great coaches and mentors. So yeah, it's really nice. One last question for me is like, so what are the career paths that are for your SDRs in hashtag paid? Do you have some defined or not yet?
We do, yeah. So the obvious one is account executive. And we have different account executives, right? We have our SMB, our mid-market, and our enterprise account executives. So, you know, there'll be an opportunity to go into one of those roles. But we're also open to moving people into other directions. So we're going to be hiring on our marketing team in the new year. We're you know, we might, if there's SDRs who show propensity towards marketing, we can bring them in. If there's SDRs who show propensity towards customer success, we can move them there. It really, where there's an opening and where you want to be, we try to encourage you to go that direction. And I tell people, and I don't know if I don't know if it's wrong or not, but if someone wants to go into a role, wants to be in a role that's not available at hashtag paid right now or in the near future, in sort of their time frame, I'm more than available. Again, we hire good people, so I'm okay and comfortable vouching for that person and getting them a gig in their desired role at somewhere else and using my network to get them there. So our goal is, so at hashtag paid, it's marketing, customer success, product, you know, the regular departments that other companies have. And if it's not available here, I'm more than happy to encourage them and to support them getting a gig somewhere else.
Okay.
We don't want to lose them, of course. They're great people. It breaks my heart, but you know, it would break my heart more to have them stuck here in this role. You know, you want to see them flourish and become, you know.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's great. It's really interesting, and I think it definitely looks like a great place to work. So you've created like this environment that a lot of people, I mean, a lot of companies don't do that. So I think it's really nice, and it's really a hot kind of sector, you know, where influencer marketing is exploding. It's been exploding for years, but it's like going crazy now, and it's very exciting to see where it's going.
Amazing, man. Yeah, it is pretty exciting. Yeah.
And so, yeah, so where can people get the, you know, like now you have some time to pitch whatever you're gonna pitch. So where can people like find you, find what you're doing, or get more of you basically?
Yeah, I already pitched SDR Nation. I have other than me being very good friends with Michael, I have no other affiliation to them. I'm a big fan. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm on LinkedIn. Twitter's probably my favorite place to hang out. Feel free to message me on Twitter. Email's pretty easy to find. You can email me. If you want help, if you're looking for a gig and you need help, message me. I normally take, you know, there are people who have prospected us who haven't been quite there, but I saw that they put in the effort. I take time to talk with them, 10, 15 minutes, give them some help, advice, coach them however I can. If that's you, feel free to reach out. Happy to help.
Yeah, I'll drop the links, you know, to your Twitter and LinkedIn accounts, and also hashtag paid in the notes so people can get in touch. And to people who are listening there and trying to find a job, is it like people have to be based in Toronto, or is it remote friendly?
Yeah, no, remote friendly. Yeah.
Okay, so if you basically are looking for a gig, you know what you have to do. Just listen to that and think about what Roger said, and then you have a playbook. Just like take the time to listen to 45 minutes of that, and you'll get everything you know to actually get in front of them. As easy as that.
You got it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Cool.
man.
So thanks a lot, Roger. That was amazing to have you there, and I guess we'll talk soon.
Talk soon, man. Thank